Hi, I'm Brickroad, and here we are back in the inky blackness surrounded by Final Fantasy maps, which must mean it's time for another Final Fantasy Villainous deck. This is the 5th deck that I'll be adding to the Steam Workshop page. You can find that download link down in the doobly-doo if you want to download the game into Tabletop Simulator and try it for yourself. And today we are going to be looking at Queen Brahne from Final Fantasy IX. So first I will address the obvious question of why Queen Brahne and not Kuja, who is the actual primary antagonist from Final Fantasy IX. Two major reasons. The first reason is pretty simple. There is an imbalance between really good male and female villains in Final Fantasy, and Queen Brahne is just one of the few female ones. So while we were rounding out the initial decks, it just made more sense to have Queen Brahne to keep Ultimecia and Shantoto company as the only really good Final Fantasy villains who are women. And also, I always design these decks around a concept first, and I had an idea for a deck where you have a hero in your realm that you can never get rid of, and you kind of have to chase them around back and forth. And that really seems to fit the theme of Queen Brahne chasing around the plucky heroes from Final Fantasy IX, in particular, Princess Garnet. And the entire deck revolves around Princess Garnet. So let's go ahead and flip her realm here, and you can take a look at it. Unfortunately, Queen Brahne doesn't have a really high quality character render like the rest of the villains do. For most of these decks, I am using a render from the newest Final Fantasy Dissidia game. Queen Brahne is not a fighter in Dissidia, probably for good reasons, so she is perhaps appropriately the ugliest character on her own realm. Moving on to Queen Brahne's villain guide here, we're going to flip through it. Queen Brahne's objective is to extract 3 Eidolons from Princess Garnet. There are 5 Eidolons in her deck. The idea is Princess Garnet is always in her realm. She has to play these Eidolon cards, attach them to Garnet, and then play other cards later to extract them back. Once she does this 3 times, she wins the game. She's also the first deck that I'm releasing that does require some special setup. Most Villainous decks don't require any kind of setup, but Queen Brahne does. All you have to do is find Princess Garnet's card, who by default is right here on top of the Fate deck. Tilt her about 45 degrees and place her here at the Prima Vista. The idea is that Princess Garnet cannot be removed from your realm. You're not able to vanquish her, you're not able to defeat her. All of the cards that attack heroes in Queen Brahne's deck specify that they can't target Princess Garnet. Also, she can't be targeted by move hero actions. To balance that out, she starts the game not covering action symbols, so wherever she is in her realm, Queen Brahne can move to that position and still take all of the actions available, as long as she's still tilted. Princess Garnet does still move back and forth through Queen Brahne's realm, and the way that that works is most of the cards in her villain deck have little arrows on the bottom. And every time Queen Brahne takes a play a card or a discard action, Princess Garnet moves appropriately. If there's 2 right arrows, like in this example, and I were to play this Alexandrian soldier to the realm, after I've played the soldier, Princess Garnet moves 2 spaces to the right. The idea here is you have to balance playing cards that will help you win with playing cards that will move Garnet into position where she is helpful for you. There are no items in Queen Brahne's decks, neither in the Fate deck nor the Villain deck. All of her Fate deck, almost all, are heroes, and her Villain deck is almost entirely allies. So it really is a heroes versus villains kind of board. Many of the heroes can change the way that Princess Garnet moves. We'll see that as we go through the Fate deck. There's also a couple of effect cards here that make heroes in Queen Brahne's realm stronger. And then we have a page here just describing in detail how extraction works. There are 5 Eidolon cards, and there are 5 effect cards that extract Eidolons, and all of these cards have restrictions on them. There's also a card that helps you ignore restrictions, and we'll see some of those as we go through Queen Brahne's villain deck now. The first 5 cards are just the Eidolons: Shiva, Ifrit, Atomos, Odin, and Bahamut, and these are just Eidolon cards. These help Queen Brahne advance her objective. She needs 3 of these to win. Most of the Eidolons have a restriction that says they can only be extracted while Princess Garnet is in a particular location. So there are 4 Eidolons associated with the 4 locations in Queen Brahne's realm, and then Bahamut's a little easier to extract because he just needs to be in a location along with Princess Garnet with no other heroes there. And then the next 5 cards are the effect cards used to extract Garnet. The Eidolon determines where she has to be on the board. The effect card determines what the game state has to be in to allow you to make the extraction. So first we have Happy Belated Birthday. This has to be used as your first extraction. If you have any other Eidolons already extracted, this card does nothing at all. You have to just throw it away. Next we have Eidolons of Eternal Life. This card only costs 2 power, but you're only allowed to play it if you have 10 or more power. And it can take Queen Brahne a long time to amass power, so you can be sure if you're just stacking up a big pile of power, the other players will all know what card you're holding. We have The Time Has Come, and you can see all of these cards do have the arrows in the bottom right there. This one you can only play if Steiner or Beatrix are in your realm. These are powerful allies in Queen Brahne's deck, but there are reasons she might not want to play them. Here's The Time Is Now. You're only allowed to play this if there are no other heroes in the realm. Princess Garnet has to be alone in the realm. This is a pretty easy one to get out early in Queen Brahne's game, but heroes do tend to stack up. So get out your mop, clean out the heroes, and then you can play The Time Is Now. And finally we have Come Forth. To play this card you need a bunch of allies in your realm. Not only do you need to have 3 allies in your realm, they need to all be in different locations. So let's look at what some of those allies are. The first one is probably the most powerful, is Zorn and Thorn. Zorn and Thorn allow you to ignore restrictions when extracting Eidolons. So you play Zorn and Thorn to a location, you move Princess Garnet there with an Eidolon attached, and then any extraction card can be played. You don't have to worry about restrictions. The only downside is Zorn and Thorn do get discarded when you do this. Typically, Queen Brahne won't win unless she plays Zorn and Thorn. When I play the deck, what I try to do is line up one extraction and then immediately follow it up with Zorn and Thorn if I can, to go from 1 to 3 in the span of a single or maybe just 2 rounds. We have some just generic allies here. Here's both of the Alexandrian soldiers, just generic allies. You will notice, though, there's a difference between the 2 cards in that the arrows on the bottom of the cards are different. The deck is balanced, so half of the cards move Garnet left, half of them move her right, some of them move her 1 space, some of them move her 2 spaces. We also have these Dolly Farmhands. The Dolly Farmhand is another just generic ally, and this is useful for setting up particular movement combos. If you need Garnet to go one particular way, but all of the cards you're holding move her the other way, you can position a Dolly Farmhand in a particular spot to get her to move the opposite direction. And her other generic ally is the Black Mage. These are especially powerful because they're high-strength allies that stay in your realm no matter what. The main function of the Black Mages are to have allies you can position to get rid of heroes, but they're still in play, so you can play the extraction card later. They still count as allies because you don't have to discard them when they vanquish someone. We also have some named allies. Here's Black Waltz number 3. He allows Garnet to be targeted by move hero actions, so you can move her wherever you need her to go. We also have Lanny. Lanny moves towards Princess Garnet, mainly because there are several heroes that alter the way Garnet works, and this is just an ally that you have in your realm that's always moving towards Princess Garnet, and it's always ready to vanquish one of those pesky heroes. And then we have Steiner and Beatrix. Steiner allows you to move Princess Garnet by targeting him with a move ally action while she's in his location. And Beatrix is able to kill more than 1 hero at a time, provided those heroes don't add up to more than 6 strength. The other feature of these 2 cards is that Steiner always, because of the 3 right-facing arrows, always moves Garnet's all the way to the right of the realm, all the way to the Prima Vista, whereas Beatrix always moves her all the way to the left, all the way to the Red Rose. You see the 2 airships are on either side of Queen Brahne's realm. So these cards are expensive and they're very good allies, but they're also powerful in getting Garnet all the way to the side, one side of the board. Especially Beatrix. We'll see, we have another card in this deck where it's useful to have Garnet at the Red Rose. We We have two of these cards, Not Impressed. This is actually Queen Brahne's only condition card, and this is a way for her to get rid of a hero without having to expend an ally. So when another player defeats a hero, Queen Brahne can take a hero from her realm, put it back on the bottom of the Fate deck. And then it says if the hero is Steiner or Beatrix, discard them instead. That's interesting. And there are even more allies in Queen Brahne's deck. We have this card, Mysterious Weapons Dealer, where you can simply defeat a hero in a location that has at least one ally. I figured that even though Queen Brahne has a lot of allies, giving her more ways to deal with heroes would be advantageous to her. We also have these two cards, the Eye and the Sky. What this does is takes an already extracted Eidolon and puts it into play as an ally of Strength 5. Strength 5 is strong enough to defeat any hero except for Beatrix, if she's a hero at the time. And these allies still count towards your objective. Definitely one of the most powerful cards in the deck, but also definitely one you kind of want to see towards the mid or late middle game. We also have two of these cards, Close the Gate. This helps to separate heroes from Princess Garnet's location if you just don't have any other way to get them off of her. And finally we have the Royal Telepod. If Garnet is at the Red Rose, you can move her anywhere else, and if she's anywhere else, you can move her to the Red Rose. So that's Brahne's villain deck. It's all about moving Garnet around. Remember that you can move Garnet by either playing a card and then following the arrow on the card, or by discarding a card and having a card show up at the top of her discard pile. So let's go over to the Fate deck here. And first, obviously, we have Zidane. Zidane is a stop sign. Garnet cannot move from his location, so other players can see what Eidolons you have attached to Garnet, so they know where you're trying to get Garnet to in order to extract that Eidolon. Zidane is here to make sure Garnet can't get there. Plop him down between Garnet and her destination, and he forces her to stay put. Next we have Vivi and Freya. These are both 3 strength heroes. Each one is essentially immune to one of Queen Brahne's generic allies. Vivi can't be defeated by Black Mages, Freya can't be defeated by Alexandrian soldiers. Next we have Aiko. Aiko is kind of a hard stop in that Queen Brahne simply cannot extract Eidolons while Aiko is in Garnet's location. We have Amaranth, that makes it more difficult for Queen Brahne to move allies around. And of course we have Quina. Quina moves exactly like Garnet does. You can't target him/her with move hero actions. Instead, he moves the opposite direction of Princess Garnet. And we're out of playable characters now, but we're not done with the heroes. First we have Rama. There are no cards in the deck that once an Eidolon is extracted will remove that extracted Eidolon from play. An extracted Eidolon always remains in play, but if the Eidolon is only attached and has not yet been extracted, Rama is a very dangerous hero to play. We have Regent Sid, who works kind of like Rama, except he reduces Queen Brahne's power instead of removing her attached Eidolons. We have Stiltskin. Stiltskin might be the most aggravating hero to play against. The idea is that every time you want to move Garnet to or through Stiltskin's location, it becomes more and more expensive. This is of course a nod to his actual character in the game, who has more and more expensive items to sell you every time that you meet him. In actual practice, people don't pay the Stiltskin toll, they just focus their energies on removing him, which means the card is pretty much working as intended. And finally we have the Ragtime Mouse. Ragtime Mouse allows whoever's fading Queen Brahne to look at some cards in her villain deck and move Garnet according to one of those cards. So basically, if they see the Brahne player is setting up a move to get an Eidolon extracted, they can use Ragtime Mouse to potentially disrupt that. And you would think that that's all the heroes, but no, there's actually more heroes in the deck here. This first one is very powerful. This is Big Decision, partway through Final Fantasy IX, when Garnet gains the confidence to be her own person. She symbolizes this by cutting off her long hair. And in Villainous, what that means is if there's an Eidolon already extracted, you can play Big Decision, and then Garnet's card gets tilted back, and she covers action symbols just like most heroes normally do. And now Queen Brahne is very, very restricted in what she's allowed to do. Garnet still needs to move to a particular location, but she now covers action symbols there. It's just another complication Brahne has to deal with. And then the final 3 cards, Protecting My Devotion, these are all used specifically against Steiner or Beatrix to turn them from allies into heroes. So they're both very expensive allies and very powerful, and there's an extraction card that revolves around having one of them in your realm. But if you play them, the next turn you might get faded and suddenly your 6 power ally is a 6 power hero you have to deal with. Brahne is one of the more technical decks. There's definitely a lot of bookkeeping that goes on. It can take a minute to get into the swing of things to remember, oh, I've got to move Garnet every time I play a card. And she's also a deck where mistakes are very punishing. You really have to play this deck a few times before you really get into the swing of it, before you really understand how it works and what moves you need to make and when. Once you get to that point, I think this deck feels a lot of fun. When you know, when your arrows just line up the right way and you get the Eidolons plopped down. If you can extract 2 Eidolons on one turn with a power play, everybody's jaw drops. And that does about do it for the Elephant Lady. Again, this is the 5th of 10 planned Villainous decks. We currently do have all 10 decks playable on the dev table. We're playtesting all of them. The 10th deck, the 9th and 10th deck that I just added this past couple weeks were Gilgamesh and Magus from Chrono Trigger, and we're playing both of them and making sure that they both work. I'm also still playtesting some of the other decks that have been done for a while but still need tweaks, and we've also made some pretty serious tweaks to villains that I've already showcased on the channel. Golbez and Garland both look very, very different from the video that I originally showed you guys here. So the game is in a constant state of flux. It tends to take between 60 and 90 minutes to play a game, and then we spend another 60 minutes just talking about what happened and making notes on the decks and how we might change specific things. So if you guys get a few spare minutes over your Thanksgiving holiday, it would be wonderful if you went onto Steam, onto the workshop, and downloaded the Tabletop Simulator mod and gave the decks a try for yourself. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.